Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
Metroid Dread
Mm-hmm.
might be one of the weirdest games this year.
Oh. What?
Just because, this thing got announced out of nowhere when everybody wanted Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah,
And I
that is
feel
true.
like there was this weird, everybody looking at it going, but that doesn't look like it's gonna be good. There was a
I
lot of, instant reaction of,
yeah.
to this thing. And I will not be shocked if this wins a shit ton of Game of the Year awards.
I don't understand because I saw this game and I don't was that one area they showed in the beginning just like the most boring area of that entire game because it just looked like the most plain
So
game I've ever seen. And then like everyone's like, "Oh, this game's amazing." And then they gave out like one trailer right at the end. We're like, "Actually, there's other cool stuff in here. Sorry, we showed you only the boring shit." I don't understand.
So I think if I remember correctly, and again, I haven't watched that opening trailer in a couple months now. I
Yeah.
believe most of the areas it showed were the Emmy zones. So
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Emmys in this, which are like these killer robots that basically they only patrol certain areas,
Yeah.
and all of their areas do have that very industrial look to them.
Oh, okay.
When you're not in those areas, it doesn't look like that quite as much. So
Gotcha.
I believe, if I remember correctly, and the first one especially is very much that just kind of like this looks like generic steel and rock.
Yeah.
The first one particularly does have a lot of that look. So I do think and again, been a couple months, I believe all that early trailer was probably from the first hour.
Okay, yeah, probably. No, I would believe it, but yeah, I was just because I was surprised when they showed a trailer at the end. I was like, oh, there's actually cooler stuff. And then the more I hear about this game, the more I'm like, I should probably play this thing.
You should definitely play it. So it does have a bunch of different areas in typical Metroidvania fashion. I think there's trying to go through the map in my head, 7-ish different areas, and each one, of course, different biome. Like this one's like the one where everything's on fire, and there's really cold areas, and this one's on the surface, and this one's below the surface, and this one's a research thing, and this one has water, and you get all those different environments. So they're all there. Again, I think because that early trailer really wanted to focus in on Emmys,
Yeah.
I think that's why you got a lot of that, because that first zone in particular, it's only in one chunk of that map. So each of these areas has their own Emmy, and it is confined to basically what's called an Emmy zone somewhere in the middle of the map, and then you can kind of freely explore the rest of the area, but that one particular zone where those Emmys are is where that thing's going to hunt you down.
Gotcha. Yeah, so they were showing like a very small percentage of the potential.
Yeah, and again, I think rightly so. The Emmys are one of the cooler parts of this game. So I think initially there was a lot of well, it's Resident Evil. Resident Evil does this all the time.
Yeah.
It's just the big thing that hunts you. Whoa, crazy. They are so cool though the way they work, because again, you've got camouflage. You can run right through these areas. So again, they pretty much are situated right in the center of every area. So a lot of times, just to get through the map, you'll have to run through a part of it. So you can just try and just point blank sprint through these things if you know where you're going. The first time you walk in, though, because obviously you haven't discovered the map yet, there's a lot of oh shit, do I go up or down? Do I go left or right? Which way do I go out of this? You might have a direction that you need to head, but do I head right that way? Is there going to be an exit door over there? Is that going to make me go through this longer? Is there a point that I can jump out? This game does fantastic checkpoints. So every time you jump or you jump out of an Emmy zone is a checkpoint. So you can almost kind of use
cool.
the other exits as checkpoints as you go. And the reason those are important is these things, they're intense. There are some, especially when you get towards the end of the game, there are long chunks where it's I have to go a long way. And basically it works kind of like a normal stealth mechanic where the thing just walks around. If it hears you, sees you, you get the yellow cone
Yeah.
where it's really actively seeking you out. It actually sees you, it goes red, and that's where it basically is going to run up and kill you. When you're in the yellow, it's you got to go, you have 5 seconds to find a spot to hide. It is
cool.
intense. And again, you get different things. You get a camouflage later. You get different speeds. So obviously you can eventually start to run away a little bit more. But the Emmys, as you go through, also have different unique things. So there's one that will freeze you as you're running. If it sees you and it catches you when you're in the red, you can maybe run away. But this one will freeze you in your place for half a second.
Oh, that's
So you
fun,
lose
yeah.
that. It does really cool things with that. But if it catches you, it goes into a cutscene, and you get 2 chances to counter it. It's impossible. Literally the first time you do it, it's just like this, it's a joke, right? Like
Yeah.
that's literally how I felt for like the first couple times. Like this is a joke. Like it's like, haha, you can counter it.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You can't really do this, because I think it probably took me maybe, I don't know, probably till the second or third one where I could like counter it 1 out of 10 tries.
Oh, sure.
Because
Jeez.
I mean, it has to be like, I don't know what the window on it is, but it has to be like less than a millisecond, and you
Yeah.
get 2 shots at it. So every time, like, if you get 10 tries, you get 20 shots to counter this thing, and I would maybe
Sure.
get it once. Again, as you start to get it, you start to really pick up the animations, and that's a lot of what this game is. It's kind of that old school, like, get the animations down, figure out where the frames are, figure out when exactly you have to do a lot
Mhm.
of things. There was one point where I was super proud of myself. I got 4 counters in a row on one.
Ugh.
Like, I was like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened in a video game. I countered 4 Emmys in a row.
That's funny. Those one of the things they were talking about, like kind of the tight window at the QTEs. Like I've heard this game is unforgiving to some points. It was funny. The more and more I heard about this game, the more I felt like I would be more interested in it, and like the less I felt like you would be interested in it. It's like it's very difficult, very punishing. You will get lost, and like this all sounds like shit that Brad would hate.
So a couple points on that. Number one, it's fun.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Like, the final boss, I think, took me about an hour real life time to beat, but it's not difficult. Like, you can't do it difficult. It's difficult, like, learn your shit difficult.
Yeah.
So as you're playing, you go, okay. And again, I'm thinking final boss here, but it works for a lot of them. I can get in 2 missile strikes when it does this move. Then I need to dodge roll back. Okay. Now every time it does that move, I know how to do it. Okay, when it does this move, I know that I need to do like my dash counter on this. When it does this.
Gotcha.
And so it's a lot of like, especially with the final boss, the final boss, I'm not even going to talk about it, but one of the parts was like, okay, I learned this move. Next try, okay, I've got this move down. I can avoid this attack. Okay, next one, okay, now I know how to counter that. And it's a lot of learning it like that, but the game is so much fun to play that it never felt like, oh my god, I hate this difficulty.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Like,
Sure.
I can do one more, I can do one more. And that, I think, works better for me than when it's just like, I don't see, where it's just like, I never had that feeling of, I lost because the game just kind of screwed me.
Sure.
I never had that where, like, I hit the dodge button and it didn't dodge fast enough.
Yeah,
I never had that, like, oh, I got caught on the stupid wall, or oh, I tried to jump and it hit the corner, and then it's never any of that. It was always, yep, I screwed up. I should have died there. All right, let's try this again.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm okay with. The second thing is the way that you lay out checkpoints in this is really well done. Normal Metroidvanias, it's a lot of you die, boot it out to main menu, re-jump in at the save point.
I hate that. Like, go back to your last save sort of shit. Yeah.
Yep. None of that. Good checkpoints. Really good checkpoints. Most bosses will start you back somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds before you walk in the boss battle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's just that, like, okay, there's enough space to run right to jump in, or go, I need some more time, and go left and go backwards.
Sure.
Which works really well. Third thing, I did not use a guide to the point where I was like, pull up a map and tell me where to go.
Yeah.
I did use a map a couple times because there were 1 or 2 parts where it's like, I have access to 6 zones and I just got this new power and I don't even know which of the 6 zones to go to right now to use this.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So I did pull up a guide a couple times, and it was mostly towards the end once I had access to a lot of areas where it's like, okay, I have very clearly 2 directions I can go in right now. One's going to basically shoot me back out to these 3. One's going to shoot me towards these 2.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've already been over. So it was more of just I found a guide that was literally like listed out like this zone, this zone, this zone, back to this zone, this zone, back to this zone, back to this zone. So it's just like, I wanted to know I was in the right area, because I hate that feeling of like, I went left, I'm on the other side of the map, and I should have just gone right 2 doors, and there it is. So,
well, yeah, I feel like the game like could do that to you. Is this a type of game that you could conceivably do that if you didn't have a guide? You just get like completely back asswards.
Very easily. There were a couple points where like I paused and like, okay, enough for tonight. I'll come back to it tomorrow, and was like, shit, which way was I going? And again, that's where I would jump into a guide and go, okay, I know I just got the morph ball. What comes after the morph ball? Oh, okay, I need to go to this zone. Okay, I can head back over to that zone. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of that. I will say 90% of it is fairly clear. Like, I beat a boss,
Sure.
I get this power. Oop, this block I can break with that power is right adjacent to me. Or, oh, that closed this exit. I know I have to go left. Oh, that leads me
Mhm.
into an elevator. So clearly I have to be back in this area. That happens probably 90% of the time. There were maybe 3 or 4 where I was really like, okay, which way now?
Sure.
Which, again, is fairly frustrating. But I played through it in a couple days. I never really got to that point where I was like, I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm out. There was one boss where I did the like.
I was gonna
I
say I got a
tried
few
to.
texts from you that say contrary to that.
There were 3 bosses that got me. The final boss and 2 others. There was one where it was like 40 minutes. I'm like, it got to the point where I was like, I'm done. I'm frustrated. I'm done.
Yeah.
Went and just played something else for about a half hour. I was like, I'm gonna give it one more shot, and of course beat it that one time, which is
Sure.
the
Yeah.
most amazing, infuriating feeling in the world. But overall, it's just so much fun. The bosses are incredible. Every boss feels slightly different. There's big, gigantic, towering bosses that are like 5 stories tall, and then there's little tiny Samus-sized bosses where you're just fighting the same
Mhm.
size thing as you, doing really agile moves. It works well. The Emmys function as bosses because you can kill them. There's a really cool way that you kind of go about killing them in this. That, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but there are ways to kill them, and that's part of progressing forward. That works really well. Game has, I don't want to call them dumb, but kind of dumb cutscenes where it's just like
Okay.
all this is like a quick intro into a boss and a quick outro of a boss. It's really not in any other Metroidvania, but they do such a good way of communicating that like Samus is a badass.
I've heard.
Like,
Yeah, I've heard this. Yeah.
like, because again, no voiceless, and you just get cuts to her eyes and like body language and stuff. And there's a couple shots where it's just like, there is no reason for this because I just killed the giant monster. Like, I just did that with this counterattack, but now we're gonna show her like standing over its body and like doing something. There's a couple cool things where she's just like does the like Matrix like shoot shoot shoot, just like boop, dodges to the left and like, all right, let's go. So it's one of the best examples of like characterization with a voiceless protagonist that I think I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Just in these little, and there's not many cutscenes, just little tiny little before boss, after boss,
Mhm.
couple like exposition cutscenes in there here and there, but it does such a good job of just showing you who she is and how she is in the situation. It works really, really well.
That's kind of cool because I think like the problem I have with like a lot of Nintendo characters is they tend to just emote to the situation. They don't. There's not really like a like when you think of Mario. What is Mario's character? He just makes a face when something surprising happens. Yeah. Or like even Link. Like to me, like Link is like he's stoic, and then every once in a while he just kind of emotes at the situation, but you
Yeah,
don't really get a sense of the character. That's kind of cool. They like. Although I guess this game's not necessarily made by Nintendo, so they can do what they want.
fair, yeah. Yeah, and as she goes through here, you see different things. There are a couple other characters that she interacts with who all do have speaking parts, and again, it's all in the reaction that she has to them. And again, it doesn't just feel like that traditional Nintendo, like, okay, this is smile face, this is shoulder
Yeah.
shrug, this is like hee hee hee. Like,
Hmm.
there is very clear, like, this is a freaky moment for her. This is something she's excited about. She does not have time for this shit in this moment. You can read all of that in her character, and just in, again, you're not even getting full face, you're just getting eyes through the visor a few times. So
I do have a quick question. What's like the tone of this game? Is it like I remember because recently I actually tried like booting up Super Metroid for the first time. I was like, oh, this is like a little creepy, which I just never played a Metroid before, so I was kind of surprised. Does it have that kind of like creepy tone, or is it just more like just it's a good sci-fi punching shooting things?
it's mostly just good sci-fi. The kind of like horror-esque thing deals with kind of the tense moments with the Emmys more so than anything else.
Sure.
Just story and everything like that wise, it really is just kind of like, go to planet.
Sure.
There's bad stuff on planets. You
Yeah.
you get attacked and lose everything. Go collect it and win. Like,
That's funny. Yeah, I guess you have to always do that, right?
I mean, there's a little bit more to it with who you get attacked by and how that has to deal with Metroids and the X Parasite and all these, like, the kind of the lore of Metroid that I personally forgot 15 years ago, and I'm sure a
Sure.
lot of us all have. But it's one of those things where there's enough driving you forward, going like, okay, I get what I'm doing. Like, I understand why I need to keep doing this, but not enough where I'd go, let's talk about Metroid story.
Sure. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Good, fair.
But yeah, no, not really horror. Just more of like yeah, there's cool monsters. Go shoot them.
Okay. Sure.
But it's, again, I think, to kind of come back to the beginning, I expected this to be good. Like, I enjoy classic 2D Metroid games. I enjoy Metroidvania games. So looking into this, I was like, okay. I actually, even Mercury Steam made a Castlevania game that was 2D side-scrolling they played on PlayStation Now like a year ago. I was like, that actually wasn't half bad. So I was actually expecting this to be pretty good, and I was still blown away from beginning to end just how good this game was.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where it's not doing anything crazy original. It's not this huge epic masterpiece, but everything it does is so perfectly executed that that in and of itself makes it something really, really unique in how well it does these things.
Cool.
You should play this game.
I know. I'm not ready to pay that Switch tax yet. I will pay it.
It's $60. It's less than a PlayStation 5 game. That's not a tax.
Oh god, don't even start. Yeah, that is true. That is true.
I think my playtime was like 7 hours and 45 minutes in game. Like, I didn't get, I'm not 100% person. I'll just keep going through it. Actual playtime, I think like 13, 14 hours because dying, but it's worth it. You get your 10 to 15, $60.
I'll get around to it. It's definitely on my list of like next Switch game to buy, but every time I play a new Switch game, I literally have to dust off my Switch. So.
There's so many. You're missing out. Anyway, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.